2020. Now let's bring into the conversation consumer economist Tendani Mantshimuli as we delve further into the effect of the budget on our pockets. Welcome. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. So, in spite of the fact that there's no increase in personal taxes, for instance, things still remain very tight. Caution, being careful for consumers going forward is still the watchword.
Yes, I agree with you, Jeremy. I mean, there is some pleasant surprise in terms of where consumers are after the budget. I'm one of those that thought if government can't find what to make up for the gap between revenue and expenditure, they might have to raise VAT. Thankfully, that didn't happen because the economy is too weak to support that.
I'm very pleased you called that one badly.
Yes.
It would have been a disaster.
Yes, it would have been a disaster.
What would have happened? I mean, what would it have done to consumers, particularly at the lower end of the scale?
Terrible, because as you see, the economy has weakened to less than half a percentage point of increase in GDP growth. And against that background, to increase VAT to 16%, which is widespread and impacts the poor equally with that, it wouldn't have worked. It would have meant a lot of people probably couldn't afford the basics that they needed to survive. And so for me, that's important. The other thing that he avoided was the trap of taxing the middle to upper income more, because same as other sectors of the economy, you can't keep on taxing them. At the end of the day, these are the guys that we rely on spending to push South Africa back to a growth rate of what they hope is going to be around 1% in the next 3 years.
The reality of that is that there's no news on personal tax. In other words, it wasn't increased or decreased. There's an adjustment in the tax brackets, but the reality is consumers, particularly in that middle class, don't have much wiggle room when it comes to discretionary spend.
No, there isn't a lot of wiggle room. We've seen it in the numbers, the GDP numbers that came out, and I'm expecting when the Reserve Bank releases the expenditure number, I've stayed South Africa, I mean next week, we're going to see that there's a further deterioration of GDP, particularly from the expenditure side. The fact that he reduced GDP growth from a forecast by the Reserve Bank a few weeks back of 0.4%, 0.3% tells me that things are worse than what we expected. However, on the positive side, relief just that there isn't going to be more additional expenditure. But I want to pick up on a point that was raised earlier about the fact that you can save a little bit more if you can. And without attracting tax, there's quite a substantial amount, 36,000, and you must know. So
it's gone from 33,000 to 36,000. Yes. I made the point with a tax expert a little earlier today. Could he not have been a little bit more generous in that respect if you want to encourage tax?
Not when you have your debt to GDP ratio of deficit creeping up towards 7%, which is the highest level that we've ever had. Not when you have the overall debt trending towards 70%. He certainly cannot afford to do that. I think that's the best that they could do.
Fair point, but we still don't live in a savings economy at the moment.
No, we don't live in a savings.
Every single cent is being used.
Everything else is going to be used. I mean, much like the government, we're living on credit. Most South Africans live on credit, but the fact that those who can at least put aside a little bit, and there is the relief, not much on the social grants, which is a safety network for a lot of South Africans. I mean, it's not a lot. 80 rand is not a lot in real terms, but at least you have that, and you have inflation fairly contained at 4.1%. But of course, a large part of the consumer is the civil servant, where we've seen that there's going to be over 3 years and
that's exactly it. So the big takeout of the budget today, a cut in the public sector wage bill. We've already reflected the fact that this is going to cause a lot of difficulty between government and the unions.
Yes.
But this is going to have a long-term impact on consumer spending as their wages are diminished.
Yeah, but remember, Jeremy, what the government could well do is to say we're going to stick to a salary increase just on par with inflation. You won't have inflation in 2019 was 4.1%, right? So for a salary bill to go up by much more than 4.1% would be irresponsible. And I think that's where government is going to try to start tightening, not to say if you earn 50 rand, you're going to earn 40 rand next month.
Just finally, there might not have been an increase in VAT, but I was making the point with our reporter Michael Marilia a moment or two ago. There are these other sneaky hidden taxes.
Yes.
The carbon tax goes up. The plastic bag levy goes up. The light bulb levy goes up. Another 25 cents in the fuel levy. So we might be breathing a sigh of relief as far as VAT is concerned, but we're still getting nailed.
You're still getting nailed there, but I, for one, think that looking after the environment so that there's an earth tomorrow by raising the plastic levy is not too bad an investment.
From your lips, I mean, that's a good point here.
Yes.
All right, so all in all, it could have been worse.
It could have been worse.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Tendani Mantshimuli, thank you very much indeed.